So I have some generalized recovery advice for you today, coming from some of my client calls when girls are struggling to eat more protein. If I could offer you any advice in your journey for period recovery or balancing your hormones, it's to increase that protein. You know, if you are finding that you have unexpected hunger, or you're not sleeping well, or you have low energy, increasing your protein typically helps all of these. You know, it's one of the number one pieces of advice I give for girls who are trying to, increase their luteal phase and, make sure that their ovulation is happening in a healthy range. So one of the biggest topics that we talk about with protein is widening your variety and finding other things that you enjoy. It tends to be that girls fixate on 2 or 3 different types of protein and they struggle to move on from that. But, there are different kinds of eggs from more than one animal. Like chickens aren't the only animals that lay eggs. So maybe consider branching out and looking at some of those. There are different types of game out there: beef, bison, lamb, pork. And then if you get into more of the vegetarian options besides just your different protein powders, beans, dairy, peas, some different kinds of grains, lentils, nuts, seeds, even oysters, spirulina, chlorella. Those are all different things that you can use to supplement into your protein game. Your protein on your plate does not just have to be one spot of like meat. One of the things that I do is I combine things. Like I, for some reason, enjoy cottage cheese with my meat. Like I like a pork chop with some cottage cheese on the side. Like things like that, even like adding peanut butter will really help. So if you're concerned about foods like your nuts, seeds, and your dairies and stuff, thinking that they're more of a fat or a carb-based food, it's true that those are, they're dominant in fats or carbs, but a variety can be added in to help you meet those protein goals. And remember that we need that range of proteins to give us a very good amino acid profile anyway. So all of this is something that we look at, especially when we are helping girls on a one-on-one basis. And because of this, a lot of people have digestion discomfort because they have been limiting their food options. And I have a lot of people, and I was one of these people, that I stopped eating carbs, and when I would try to eat them again, I felt like I couldn't tolerate them, and so it encouraged me to stop eating them more. But here's the science behind that. When women are actually lacking in estrogen, their insulin sensitivity is reduced. And that makes it feel like they can't tolerate carbs. And in some senses, it's actually true. They can't tolerate the carbs that they're taking in from that. However, if you stop eating carbs and you continue to limit them, it only makes the problem worse. This is because you're starving the body of glucose. And that activates your energy sensor called AMPK. And that makes changes to your ovary functions, and therefore it perpetuates the problem. So that's why you can't continue to starve yourself of carbs. You fix this by slowly reintroducing them. You eat what you can handle as you are adjusting. Just like it takes some time for your hormones to turn back on, it takes some time for your digestion to turn back on. Everything in the body needs time to heal and respond to the calories and the reintroduction of different foods, or maybe, the introduction of foods that you've never had anyway. So, all of this are things that we need to consider when we have girls that are still wanting to do activity. I know running is a big one for most girls. I was big into running, and I struggled to want to stop it, especially because I wasn't somebody that was immediately looking to get pregnant. I just wanted to be able to say that I could get pregnant when I was ready to get pregnant, right? And, your exercise like your food, is very specific to you and your own metabolic fingerprint. And it really needs to be considered on a case-by-case basis. But if you are trying to keep activities like running or weight training in your recovery process, please make sure that you are fueling before and after, always keeping in mind that blood sugar regulation. I do not fast before your exercise, because for girls it is just not effective unless you are going through some sort of, well, there's a lot of different little nuances of situations where it might be appropriate. Like I know cancer patients that are going through chemo benefit really well from fasting, but for girls who are working on fertility, fasting is not something we recommend. But all of your lifestyle needs to be considered when we're also looking at your physical activity, your sleep, the clothes you're wearing, how much your physical activity, your job requires. Are you a frantic cleaner? How many calories are you burning in your just non-exercise calorie burning? You know, do you stretch? Do you do yoga? All of that is something that we want to look at when we are considering what's appropriate for exercise. But in general, if you are, reintroducing food and you're letting your body turn back on and you're still trying to incorporate some exercise, make sure that you're having rest days. So many of us girls have gotten in the habit of ignoring those rest days because we feel like it makes us weak. We get antsy. We want to go to the gym. We like to exercise. But especially if your hormones are not balanced, you should be taking at least 3-4 days a week off from exercise. And that's one of the ways that you can keep exercise in your life and still recover. And remember that, recovery isn't forever. And your current schedule with exercise and taking that many days off doesn't have to be forever. I've been recovered for, upwards of 3 years, and now I only take one rest day. But I also incorporate a great variety of exercise that I wasn't doing before. And some of my days are not as intense as others. I don't exercise the same length of time anymore. But consider how long it took for your body to start turning off different elements of your bodily function and your fertility. You need to give your body, that amount of time to fully recover and build back in exercise with your newly supported habits of healthy eating too. It took me a good, I didn't have a period for at least 3 years. It was spotty before that too. And it didn't even take me that long, but I did need to spend a year where I really backed off. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please consider dropping it a like and subscribing for more content like this. I do Dear Abby on my Instagram on Wednesday, which is where I take questions from you. And a lot of the content from this video came from questions from people just like you. So thank you for your support, and I hope to see you soon. Good luck out there.